Hello, classic rock fans. I'm reporting the morning after seeing Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs at Waterfest in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I'm recording this the morning after because when I initially recorded this last night in the parking lot near the fest, that did not turn out. I'm recording this in a vacant parking lot, and it's hella sketchy, so I gotta go. Yeah, I originally recorded it under a street lamp in a vacant parking lot. You know, normal. Anyway, I was really looking forward to this show. Mike Campbell, if you don't know, most famous for his longtime membership of this band, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Mike wasn't just a band member, he was a massive creative force in the band. I would say almost to the level of Tom himself. Those guys were true collaborators, which is why he was invited to join Fleetwood Mac shortly after Tom passed away. Fleetwood Mac needed a new guitar player after they fired Lindsey Buckingham, and I suspect Mike was Stevie Nicks' first pick. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to see the tour Mike did with Fleetwood Mac, but I was very curious about that. And I thought it was a good pick, because Mike is an insane level talent. And since that tour is over, he's basically launched a solo career with this new band, the Dirty Knobs. And they put out 2 albums. I've listened to both albums, and they're both really good. And what's great about those albums is that a lot of those songs you could totally see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers playing. So if you miss Tom, these are the albums you should get. These very much capture the spirit of the Heartbreakers, and Mike has very similar vocals to Tom. So if you close your eyes, you can sort of imagine Tom singing, the same songs. I mean, you really shouldn't. It's Mike's band. It's his creative vision. But for those of us who miss Tom, these are really good albums to listen to, and also now to see Mike in concert. I remember thinking a couple of times during the show that even though he didn't do a lot of Heartbreakers songs, that seeing Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs was more rewarding to me as a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers fan than seeing like a Tom Petty cover band. If you're a Heartbreakers fan, I would really recommend you check out Mike Campbell's 2 albums with the Dirty Knobs. See how you feel. If you miss Tom, can you see him singing those songs? I totally could. So if you wish there was more Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers music, Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs is the closest we're going to get. And it's really good music. So I shouldn't even put a qualifier by it. I definitely recommend both albums, and I really recommend seeing Mike and the Dirty Knobs in concert. Now, despite him being most famous for his time in the Heartbreakers, there wasn't a lot of Tom Petty music in the set list last night, which I think was a good thing. I prefer when bands focus on their own discography, the strength of their own music. That said, he did do 2 Tom Petty songs for the show I saw. He opened the show with Runnin' Down a Dream, and he dedicated that to his former Heartbreakers bandmate, Howie Epstein. Howie Epstein passed away a number of years ago, and yesterday was Howie's birthday. And Howie was also born in Milwaukee. So it was a nice way to pay tribute to his former bandmate in his home state. And the only other Tom Petty song he played was Southern Accents, which was a beautiful rendition and just a stellar tribute to Tom and his memory. The crowd really responded well to that. And, there's so many iconic, super recognizable Tom Petty radio hits. I was actually really happy to see him not go for one of those to pay tribute to Tom. Especially because, Southern Accents, for Heartbreakers fans, we all know that song. So it's not a super deep cut, but at the same time, it's not, free falling, which is on the radio every 5 minutes. And, the lyrics of that song are very meaningful to Tom, so that, again, came through really well with Mike's performance.
We all miss him terribly, and I wish he was still here, but we're going to carry on in his spirit the best we can. And he wrote this song all by himself back, Lord knows when, 40 years ago. And it's one of my favorite songs he ever wrote. And it's about, you know, it really is about him and where he came from.
The rest of the set list was interesting. The encore for the night was a cover of a Chuck Berry song. And I thought that was great because covering Chuck Berry used to be like classic rock's go-to move, you know? But it has been years since I've seen anybody cover Chuck in concert. And it was surprisingly refreshing to see Mike and the band do that. And also, you know, over the PA, both before his set and after, the only music that seemed to be playing was Chuck Berry music. So, you know, Angus Young and Keith Richards might be more famous, you know, for their love and tribute and even friendship with Chuck Berry. It's Mike Campbell out here who's still actually holding a candle for him, you know, with his own music. And I dig that because that is really classic rock and roll. And Mike made a couple of comments about the healing power of rock and roll all through the set. And I really dig that. So, you know, this is the sort of vibe I absolutely want at a concert. I had a great time. I think Mike Campbell is one of the great underrated figures in American rock music. And if he comes to your town, yes, I really highly recommend this show. Especially if you're a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers fan. And again, if you miss Tom, you can just close your eyes and you can totally see him singing some of the songs that Mike has written with his new band. There was one in particular. It was called Fuck That Guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. It ought to be a crime. He ain't no friend of mine. Fuck that guy.
Very funny song. He co-wrote it with Chris Stapleton. It's a very funny song, and you can totally see that being on a Heartbreakers record. I definitely believe Petty would have recorded that. Mike said that Chris didn't want to record it for one of his albums, and I can totally see Petty doing it on one of his, which is why I'm sure Mike was more than happy to do it for his album with the Dirty Knobs.
Well, it ought to be a crime. He ain't no friend of mine. Fuck that guy.
That is a really fun song. Just for that alone, you might want to see him in concert because that really got a good laugh out of the audience. Again, that song is called Fuck That Guy. And it's exactly as it sounds. So be sure to at least check that out. Otherwise, that's about it. If Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs is coming to your town and you're a classic rock fan, this is a no-brainer. Go see him. He's not necessarily a household name. So artists like Mike are the guys that we as classic rock fans really need to get out there and support. Alright, that's it for me. If you're a fan of classic rock, please check out the podcast I do. It's about classic rock. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this concert review, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and look around on this channel because I've done a lot of other concert reviews and chances are I've talked about someone you're a fan of. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Links for those and my podcasts are in the description below. And with that, thanks for watching and keep rocking.